Hey there, it's Brittany Chavers, and I'm back with Jesse James Beads and Dress It Up buttons today, and we're going to be making a fun knotted bracelet using this pearl strand from Pantone 2324 line in kohlrabi. It's such a vibrant green. I am going to be using the Dress It Up buttons beads and blooms set. Such a cute little pack of buttons. I just love the whimsy in the flowers. I'm going to be using this pink and purple flower today to make our friendship bracelet. And then I haven't decided on which color yet, but I do have some nylon thread or nylon cord. This is 0.5 millimeter, and we're going to be using that in the project as well. I just have that from my own stash. I'm going to be using a knotting board today, but if you can also use a clipboard, you can use a macrame board, or just tape your project to your table. But you know, any of those will work, and I've used all of those methods before. To start off my project, I am going to cut about 1.5 yards to 2 yards of two of my cords. I think I'm going to go with blue and pink, or turquoise and hot pink, which are my two favorite colors. And I'm going to cut about 1.5 yards to 2 yards of each color. I'm going to cut another piece that's about 20 inches long. I'm going to take my shortest piece and put it through my button and move that button down to the middle. And then I'm just going to secure that button on the middle of my thread by doing an overhand knot. Okay, and then I'm going to move that knot down to my button. Here we go. Make sure we have a secure knot there, and there we go. I am going to go ahead and grab the knot in my clip here, and that's the part you would tape down if you're using tape, or the part that you would clip to a board if you're using a binder clip. And then I'm going to take my two longer pieces and find the center. Then I've clipped the other end down here to secure it to my board so it's not moving around. I'm going to take my two longer pieces, holding them together, and I'm going to come around the top of my cord and do a square knot. So the way to start a square knot is to take your left set of strings, fold it over your middle string, and then you'll take your right set of strings and fold them over the left strings that were coming over the right, and then you're going to come back through the bottom with that right hand side, and now you've kind of cast on to your base string. And the way to complete a square knot is to go back and do that the opposite direction. So now we're coming right over the middle, left over the right strings, and then underneath and out through the other side. This bracelet is going to be made up of those knots. I'm going to do 4. So we've already done 1, and a whole knot is a series of the right and the left being done together. So now I've done 1.5 knots. I'll do the rest of them. And so I've done my 4 knots, and then I'm going to slide some of my beads onto my cord. All right, so I have my strand of kohlrabi beads over here, and I'm just going to pick out my pattern. I'm going to use a pattern that's pretty simple. I am going to choose a crystal, then one of these larger pearls, then a rhinestone ball, a crystal, a rhinestone clay bead, and then I'm going to repeat that pattern. Okay, and then we'll have some leftover beads for another bracelet. So what I'm going to do is slip those beads onto my middle cords. Now the pearls and the rhinestone ball beads are not large enough to fit over both strings, but that's okay. We only need them to be on one. I'm gonna melt the ends of my cord just to make sure they're a little stiffer and that they can go through my beads without fraying. You can also, if you're not confident, or maybe if you're under 18 and you don't have supervision for that, I would say you can also use some wax or some glue. I'm gonna slide on my crystal first. It doesn't matter which one you put. The ones that don't fit both. Oh, this one might fit. There we go, we got both on that one. Then I'll just put the rest on as well. Okay, now that I have my beads strung, I'm gonna pull my cord taut and put it back in my clip. And I'm gonna move down most of my beads except for the first one that I'm gonna tie into place. So I'm gonna move this up to where my knots are, and I'm going to do a macrame knot around it. Go ahead and secure that, and then we'll come back the other way. All right, and that was one full knot. I'm gonna do that 4 more times for a grouping of 5. Okay, I have my 5 knots in place, and then I'm gonna move up my next bead. I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Now we see that this bead could not fit both pieces through. That's totally fine. I'm just gonna pretend like that guy's not there, move that bead up as far as I can go, and do 5 more knots. See the tendency to have the side pieces fall underneath the bead? That's okay, just kind of lock it in place until we can get that second part of that second part of that square knot in there. And we can see it came loose. That's totally fine. We just want to tighten that before we tighten the square knot below it. So tighten that up and then bring this together. I'm loving the turquoise, pink, and green together. It looks so great. So I'm gonna do 4 more knots to create 5 again. Okay, so I'm sliding up my next bead, and then I'm gonna do 3 knots here. I'm gonna move up my next crystal, but I'm only gonna do 1 knot between this crystal, this bead, and this bead. And then I will repeat everything I've done. So I'll show you here, 1. That's 1 square knot. And that's 1 more. And then I am just gonna go and repeat everything I've done to this point, and I'll show you how we'll finish off the bracelet. Okay, as we can see, I've finished my pattern all the way down. What I'm gonna do is take some jewelry glue, GS Hypo Cement or Loctite will be fine. And then I'm just gonna dab on the end knots here. Just a tiny bit, just to keep that in place, because we're gonna be cutting this anchor point, and we don't want that all our hard work to come undone. And we really want that to dry before we cut it because we don't want to get it stuck to our fingers, our beads, or the closure that we're about to make. Okay, now that it's dry, I'm going to go ahead and trim right up against my knots here, making sure not to trim the knots itself. So now we have this really cute bracelet using our button and our beads, and we just need to close it. What we're going to do is some more square knots. We're going to separate each side. So these were the strings that we were knotting with earlier, but now these are going to be our main strings while we square knot around each side. I'm going to clip my piece in so that one side is sticking straight up. And then we'll end up doing the same thing for the other side once it's that side's turn. I think I'm going to choose the turquoise as our knotting cord this time. I'm going to cut maybe 2 feet. I am just going to do that same knot until we have a length that would be big enough for our button to fit through. And I'll show you what I mean once I get there. So I'm just going to do my square knot again to tie on. We're going to move that up as closely as we can to the end of our bracelet and tie it tight. And then we'll just keep going. This is definitely a project that you can sit and watch your favorite show or talk to your friends if you're making friendship bracelets. It's a great project to get into while your focus is on something else. Okay, I'm going to measure the width of my piece here against one of the smaller sides of the button, and it looks like this would be able to slide through if this was doubled. So what I'm going to do is leave this like this for now, and I am going to unclip and flip over. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other pair of strands. So I'll cut another piece of my turquoise and go from there. All right, so I've done my macrame on both sides, and then we're just going to close this off with an overhand knot using all 8 of these strings. Okay, so, and now that I'm looking at it, this one is 1 knot shorter, so I'm just going to add that knot in really fast. And then I am just going to take all 8 strings and create an overhand knot. All right, and then we want to slide that down to where our square knots end and pull tight on each string. There we go. So there's our ending. We're going to go ahead and see if our button fits through, and it does. Like that. Super duper cute. And then we're not finished. What you can do here is knot again. You can knot each one individually, but I did save some of the metal beads from my strand, and I'm going to put those on several endings. All right, so I've saved some of my metal beads. I must have lost one of my little rondelles. I had 4 when I started this project, but that's okay. I'm going to put each one of these cords is going to get a bead. So 5 out of my 8 will have a bead on it. But if you want to use any of the other beads that are on this strand, that's totally fine. Now, since this is a little bit of a thinner cord, I'm going to do a double knot. So I'm just going to do an overhand, but before pulling it tight here, I'm going to wrap that through one more time. Okay. And then I'm just going to slide that to where I'd like it to be. And that bead's secure. And I'll just go ahead and trim. And I'm going to do that with the rest of my little beads right here. And voila, we have a cute Bloomin' Friendship bracelet. I think it's so cute. I did make it a little friend using the pink strand from Jesse James Beads and a little butterfly button from the mix. Look how many buttons are still left in this pack. You could have an armful of bracelets using this same technique. A whole garden. So here we go. Isn't that cute? Such a fun way to brighten up your day. Your friend's day. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to Jesse James Beads and Dress It Up Buttons for having me back. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial. Have a good one. Bye-bye.